Next on the list is Revolut. Now, Revolut from the start was actually a fintech startup which was not offering any broker services, mainly checkings account, savings account, and very, very useful for foreign exchange. So this is actually an account that I have whenever I travel outside of Europe. It's very, very useful to quickly exchange currencies, even when I'm just passing through an airport, quickly exchange currencies to pay something with the Revolut card, and hop off I go without having to pay any big fees on top of it. So very useful for this. But since quite recently, they are also offering the opportunity to invest in stocks and other assets. So that is why they are on this list. If we dig into their transaction costs, they're very, very interesting actually. For the standard account, there's paying accounts as well on Revolut, but for the standard free account, you actually get 3 free trades per month. So that's quite interesting, right? For a beginning investor, I wouldn't advise to do anything more than 3 trades per month. That is for stocks, of course, but then they also offer cryptocurrencies. They have 5 cryptocurrencies on this platform. Their transaction cost here is 1.5%. As you heard before, I'm not that big of a fan of transaction costs higher than 1% because I think it eats away too much margin, in my opinion. But here we're talking about cryptocurrencies, and those things either go up times 2, times 3, times 4, or they just cave in and you lose half or maybe more of what you put in. And in both scenarios, the 1.5% is not going to make the difference. So for this particular asset, I think 1.5% is quite okay. What you can also buy on Revolut is precious metals. We're talking here about gold and silver. Now, the markup that they charge for any transactions here is 0.25%, which in my opinion is very, very fair. Be aware though, if you would be buying outside of the market hours, your transaction fee goes up to 1%, which is distinctively more. Apart from that, there's also a custody fee at Revolut, but it's very, very modest at 0.01%. So that's quite okay, I think. Revolut used to be known for being super, super competitive in terms of exchange fees going from one currency to another. They have downsized a bit in these endeavors, but nonetheless, especially for us small investors, they are still very interesting. That is to say, actually, for any exchange under £1,000 per month, so we're talking 1,120 euros more or less per month, you pay 0 exchange fees. So that's very, very interesting. For any amounts above that, you go to 0.5%, so that's higher than the hero, but then again, that's only when you would be investing more than 1,100 euros per month. So for starting investors, you're basically doing your exchange for free. Super interesting. Now we come down to the big showstopper, at least for me, and it is that Revolut only offers US stocks. So no European stocks, no Asian stocks, no other emerging markets, nothing, only US stocks, not even ETFs. On the other hand, Revolut also has a very big advantage compared to other platforms, and that is the fact that you can buy fractional shares. Now, what are fractional shares? Well, it means that you don't have to pay for a full share. If you only have money for, let's say, half of it, then you can actually buy half a share. Now, why is that so important? Well, it opens up a lot of new shares that you as a beginning investor might not be able to invest in otherwise. If you're just a student with 30 euros, every stock that costs more than 100 euros is just completely impossible, or it would eat away too much of your complete portfolio. Or better yet, if we talk about stocks like Berkshire Hathaway, so the company of Warren Buffett, there you have to have at least $200,000 to pay for one stock, one share in this company. Now with fractional shares, you can just buy a little part of this share and you're also invested in the company. So that's the big advantage of fractional shares. And to my knowledge, I only found this in this platform and not in the 3 other platforms that we're discussing here today. Apart from the fractional shares, you can also have market and limit orders, stop, and even out of hours orders. So that's interesting as well. When we get down to the user experience, I think Revolut is really nailing it. First of all, I already mentioned they're way more than only a broker platform. You have a lot of other services like insurances, checkings accounts, savings accounts, and whatnot. But the experience nonetheless is very natural, very intuitive. You can find all these services, but it doesn't feel cluttered, which is really, really nice. The colors, the design, motion design, all really, really nice, which makes it very pleasant to use the app. So that's a very big plus. Another big advantage of Revolut is the countries in which they are available. So within Europe, I think they have a very broad list of countries, but also outside of Europe, we have a few countries in the Americas and even in Asia Pacific. So the range of people that can use this platform is quite broad. Now we've come down to the new kid on the block, and that is Bucks or Bucks Zero. Their transaction costs for US stocks are €0 per transaction, and then for European stocks and exchange traded funds they only charge €1 per transaction. Now that is for the regular orders, but they also have something called a zero order, and if you use these then you also pay €0 transaction costs for any European stocks or exchange traded funds. Now, what is such a Bucks Zero order? Well, the big advantage, of course, is you pay zero transaction costs, so that's a big plus, but there's also some disadvantages. Namely, you have to create the order during the market hours before 4 p.m. So that's one. But then two, it only gets executed between 4 and 5 p.m. If you would be creating your order after 4, then it will be executed between 4 and 5 p.m. the next day. So that's important to keep in mind. And that also means that you don't have that much control over the price at which you're buying it. You might create the order somewhere around noon, and the price can go up or down by 4 p.m. So luckily, Bucks did introduce a type of protection safety net here, and whenever the price would deviate more than 4 or 5%, they will not execute the order. So that's a good protection for you, but that also means that whenever you create such a zero order, you're actually less certain that it will actually be executed. So that's a disadvantage to keep in mind as well. If you're really 100% sure I want this stock and I want it today, then you should not create a zero order. You should create a market order, pay the €1 and you're fine. But in any other situation, when you really want to get the lowest costs, transaction costs as possible, because you're investing with very small amounts per time, then the zero order actually opens the door to a wide range of products that become interesting. So that's for transactional costs. But what are the other costs involved in this platform? Well, there's €0 custody fee, so that's good. And the foreign exchange cost is also 0.25% when you exchange euro to dollar or the other way around. So that is very reasonable as well. Bucks offers a relatively broad range for worldwide stocks. Not as broad, however, as the Hero or Lynx, but still broad enough in my opinion. On the other hand, in terms of ETFs, they only have 13 today. Now, you should know that these 13 were added only 2 weeks ago, I believe. And I'm pretty confident that in their roadmap, they will keep on ramping up the amount of exchange-traded funds that they are offering on their platform. Notwithstanding, today, there's only 13 on the platform. So just to make sure, if you want to go for Bucks, please check this list in the description below with all the products they're offering today, so you can make sure that it's what you want to buy. When it comes to the types of orders you can choose from on the Bucks platform, let's say they keep it to the essentials. So you have the market orders, the limit orders, and the zero orders. You just should know that you can only create orders during market hours. The user experience of Bucks is quite a particular case. So from one side, you actually have very little info. There's no ratios, no market cap, no extra information about the stocks that you can buy. On the other hand, they do provide like their own creative description of a specific stock. They also provide their own tags, so that's quite nice. You can have tags like consumer goods, clothing, United States, for example, for a company like Abercrombie. The platform, as I discussed before, has less choices than many other platforms. So there's a limited amount of types of orders that you can go for. There is a limited amount of information, which is of course something you're missing out on, but at the same time the things that you can do are very intuitive, very clear, and it also feels very empowering. So I think this is a very good platform for starting investors because it leaves out all the noise and you can focus on the very key things, which also makes it actually an interesting platform for maybe some more seasoned investors that just have difficulties to focus on the essential parts like buying, selling, managing your portfolio. A cool thing as well is that it's a customizable layout. So in the settings, you can choose actually which color schemes you have in your interface. You should also know that it's only mobile, there is no web platform here. Today, Bucks is only available in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Austria, and France. Now, when it comes to Bucks, and more particularly when it comes to charging €0 transaction costs, there's still the matter of taxes to be tackled. In Belgium, and maybe in other countries as well, there's still a certain tax to be paid for each transaction you do. Particularly here, you pay 0.35% of taxes for every purchase that involves stocks and 0.12% for every purchase or sale that involves ETFs. So there is still some taxes that you need to pay, although the amount is minimal, a payment needs to be done. On platforms where you have transaction fees, well, the platform itself takes care of it. They charge the fee and then they pay to the Belgian government the taxes that you are due. However, if you charge €0 transaction cost, then you don't have any money to go and pay these fees. On the Bucks website, it is actually explained in a quite easy way how you can declare these taxes to the Belgian government so that you're covered. However, this is still a small thing that you have to do every 2 to 3 months, so still a hassle that I'm not that enthusiastic about, and with me probably many other Belgians. So what I did is I reached out to the people of Bucks to ask them, okay, is this feature somewhere on the roadmap that you do it automatically and that it's not a hassle for me anymore? And luckily for me, the founder, Nick, big thanks, took some time to answer my question, and he told me that in Q1 2021 they aim to develop this feature that will facilitate declaration of taxes in Belgium. What he also told me, for the Belgian viewers here, is that they will be integrating with Bankcontact and Payconic somewhere Q1 or Q2 of next year as well. So those were the 4 platforms that I wanted to discuss with you today. Now, I already hear you thinking, whoa, Gilles, that's a lot of information, but what's the conclusion? So which broker should I pick now? Well, I got your back. Let's wrap up with this quick and dirty summary. I would not consider Lynx as a starting investor. It's simply too expensive for the amounts with which you will be investing in the beginning. However, it's a very interesting platform to turn back to once you start paying with some bigger amounts and once you start getting interested in the more special types of products and order types. DEGIRO is an interesting platform when you want to invest in the funds and trackers that are in their core selection list, because there you pay 0 transaction costs. When you invest in US stocks, you also pay very, very low transaction costs. However, when you start investing in other exchanges, in Europe for example, then specifically for Hungary, Greece, Czech Republic and Turkey, DEGIRO is not the right place. DEGIRO is also not the right place if you want to hold a lot of cash ready on your platform in order to buy whenever the need arises. And for, as I said, most other investments, so not the core selection, not the US stocks, then I wouldn't use DEGIRO if you invest less than €500 at one go. Now, Revolut is the right platform for you if you want to invest a lot in foreign currencies, because you can exchange between currencies for free as long as you stay below €1,100 per month, which should be feasible. Especially if you do less than 3 trades per month, they're also free. You can invest in fractional shares, which is a huge plus if you really want to invest in those particularly interesting shares that you just cannot access otherwise. Then fractional share investing is really, really good. If you want to be able to trade gold and cryptos in the same platform, then Revolut is also the right place for you. And lastly, Revolut is available in most of the countries, so maybe it's your only option. Now, what you should be watching out with is Revolut has no ETFs and you're only investing in US stocks. So that's a big bummer. Now we've come down to Bucks, which is, in my opinion, in most cases, the best choice for starting investors. Now, why is that? Well, the transaction fees are super low. We're talking about €0 in most cases, maybe €1 max if you don't want to use the 0 order. This is really interesting for starting investors. You can start with very, very low amounts, €10, €15. You can already start experimenting, especially if you're still a student, then this is really good. On the other hand, the interface is also very handy, very accessible, very easy to use. So 2 big reasons why starting investors should definitely consider Bucks. In my opinion, there's actually one reason why you would not want to choose for Bucks, and that is if there are particular exchange traded funds, ETFs, that you really want to invest in today, you don't want to wait until they become available on the platform, then Bucks is not the place, because today there's only 13 ETFs, so a big chance that the particular one that you are interested in is not yet available. Although I'm quite confident that there will be more ETFs becoming available in the long term, that's also something that I'm very interested in myself, so I'm betting on this. We've come to the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some feedback in the comments. If you paid attention, you're probably wondering now, where's that free stock? Well, if you sign up with Bucks today, then you get one free stock as soon as you deposit, I think, 200 euros on the platform. And if you use the link down below that I'm providing you, then I will get a free stock as well. So I'm counting on you.